Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself stuck in patterns that literally don't serve you? Or carrying the weight of things you went through as a teen? That's your inner teenager showing up, and it's time to heal them. Because your inner teenager is the part of you that remembers the pressure to fit in. High school, college, that self doubt, the heartbreak, and even the joy and dreams that may have been buried so deep down within you along the way because of society, culture. And I want to super dive in to how to reconnect with that version of yourself, how to fully heal these wounds that you carry and create space for more authenticity and to thrive. So let's get super deep into this, okay? So why does your inner teenager even matter ultimately, right? Like most people just focus on your inner child. So why take the time to even reconnect with this part of yourself that I feel like most people neglect, to be completely honest with you? So let's even think back to our teenage years for a second. Whether they were super messy, super awkward, maybe even a beautiful catastrophe in certain ways, those years were all about first fitting in, okay, but also just first in general. First taste of independence, your first taste of decision making, first heartbreaks, maybe even like the first time you felt really deeply misunderstood. And it was a time when we were learning who we were at the end of the day, who we were at the core of our being, but also a time when we experienced some of our earliest wounds, okay? And here's the thing. Even though you're grown up now and you think that you've moved on, your inner teenager, your teenage self hasn't disappeared. They're still there. They're still within you, and they could even still be carrying these emotions and limiting beliefs and programs that have been formed during those earlier years. For example, maybe you learned to shrink yourself to avoid judgment or avoid being perceived, or you told yourself you weren't good enough because of being bullied or something someone said to you. And then these stories, they don't just go away because you haven't addressed them. They end up just lingering within you and influencing how you show up in the world today, whether we realize it or not. So what happens when you don't address these old wounds? They end up showing up in different aspects. They end up showing up as self-doubt, fear of rejection, wanting to control things, difficulty trusting, okay? But here's the good news, besties. You can heal. You have the opportunity to heal your inner teenager, but it's all about stepping into your power, rewriting these old, outdated narrative scripts and programmings, and finally giving yourself what you needed the entire time, but you never were able to receive. So now you can give it to yourself where other people never gave it to you. So let's unpack, but also spot these patterns, okay? So have you ever felt like certain patterns or certain versions of yourself kept showing up in your life, even when you feel like you've outgrown those circumstances that were created by them, or even if you know those circumstances, maybe you're just wondering, what are these patterns and why do I keep doing them? Maybe you find it hard to trust people. Maybe you feel like you always need to prove yourself, or you over-explain yourself, or maybe you overly avoid conflict at all costs. So these behaviors, they're not just you, but they're not just random either, because they often really do trace back to the experiences that we had as children, but also majority as teenagers, because those are the years when we are actively trying to figure out who we were, while also navigating peer pressure, adult pressure, judgment, and big emotions because our prefrontal cortex wasn't developed. So it was really a time when we were learning how to survive in this big world. And some of the strategies and coping mechanisms we developed back then, they might still be influencing us now, okay? And the truth is, our teenage years were deeply formative, and I think a lot more than people realize. So if there were moments where you felt like totally alone, misunderstood, rejected, or fully like unsafe and without a way to truly be yourself and express yourself, those moments are absolutely lingering beneath the surface, and you can find them through your patterns, okay? These are not just flaws. They're simply signals that a part of you is still seeking some type of healing, some type of support, some type of release. So let's see some of the most common ways our unhealed inner teenager wounds show up as adults, okay? And as we walk through them, let's take some time to really reflect on what most resonates with you, what feels most familiar to your own life, because of course everyone has a different story and it's going to be different for most people. But the biggest one I see, number one, is people pleasing. Almost everyone that comes in my lives is always saying recovering people pleaser. Like, if you constantly either are or were prioritizing others, okay, needs over your own, or feel guilty for setting boundaries, even with yourself or other people, this is definitely rooted in inner teenager healing that needs to be done, because you might have learned that being agreeable or easygoing was the only way to avoid conflict or to gain some type of approval from parents, peers, or even other adults in your life. So people pleasing is really just a survival tactic. It's your inner teenage self thinking, if I keep everyone happy, maybe I'll be loved, maybe I'll be accepted, maybe I'll be understood. But now it's super important to remind yourself that part of you isn't tied to anyone else's approval. You are worthy outside of other people's approval, okay? A lot of people also struggle with perfectionism, myself, okay? Do you feel like it's not okay to make mistakes? Do you feel like you always need to do better than, other people? Not like in a competitive way, but that you always need to do everything 100% correct, right? And this could definitely trace back to times where you were praised for your achievements as a teen, whether it was for grades, for sports, for being the responsible one, the eldest child, the better child. And while striving for excellence and being the best can be a great quality, but perfectionism is honestly exhausting. And your inner teenager needs to hear this, okay? Your value isn't and was never based on what you achieved. You are enough as you are, and you always have been, okay? Now, a lot of us have always also experienced number 3, rebellion or avoidance, okay? So maybe you struggled with authority. Some of y'all still struggle with this. Maybe you quit things when they feel overwhelming, jobs, opportunities, sports, okay, or avoided responsibilities. That might be a sign of rebellion. And as a teen, maybe you felt overly controlled or overly stifled, and your way of pushing back was to quit or to act out. And that rebellious energy, although very valid, that was your sense of seeking freedom, okay? But now some of us are still holding on to that inner anger, that inner teenager, and now you can remind your younger self that they're safe and in control of their life today, and you no longer have to feel angry or act out. It's emotionally feeling that pushback, okay? So number 4 is maybe emotionally shutting down. Maybe you find it hard to trust people. Maybe you feel disconnected from your emotions or other people's emotions, or other, connecting to other people with your emotions, especially if you grew up being told to toughen up. You're not allowed to cry, okay? Feelings didn't matter. Maybe you learned that you had to suppress your feelings to appear perfect to the outside world. And this was also a form of protection. So now your inner teenager needs to know it's absolutely safe to feel. You can't hide your emotions to protect yourself, and you don't need to, okay? Number 5, hyper independence. I almost said hypervigilance too, so that could be something else for some people. But if you feel like you have to handle everything on your own, this could definitely stem from being let down or unsupported or lack of understanding, okay? Hyper independence often comes from learning, if I don't rely on anyone, I won't get hurt. Or if I rely on the wrong people, then things don't work out the way that I need them to. But here's the truth. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and it's absolutely okay. Your inner teenager deserves to know they absolutely should not and don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders anymore. Okay? So now let's talk about rewriting these outdated beliefs so that your inner child can remove the burdens that and your inner teenager that it's been carrying, okay? Because these beliefs often started as a protection mechanism. Maybe you believed, I'm not good enough, to explain why you were rejected, or I have to be perfect to avoid criticism. But here's the thing. Those beliefs are not facts, and they were never facts, and they never had to be your story, but they are a part of your story, okay, right now. But we're actively working to rewrite that, okay? You have the power to rewrite that. You have the power to remove that. You have the power to start identifying what this belief is. Ask yourself, is this true? Do I have to be perfect? Or is this something I picked up because of how I was treated back then? For example, if you're stuck in, I'll never be enough, I'll never be good enough, I'll never have enough, you can absolutely flip it to, I am worthy as I am. If you tell yourself, I'm too much, reframe it. I'm exactly the right amount for the right people and the right opportunities. Because oftentimes God Source Universe places the sense of being within you because the right opportunities and the right people need someone like you. Every time you challenge those old narratives, you're showing your inner teenager that it's safe to let go of the past. It's safe to be yourself, and it's safe to create a new story and a new version of being. It takes time, but this is how you step into your most authentic self. And of course, healing isn't linear. Healing isn't just about working through this pain, right? It's also about reclaiming your joy, finding the things that make you happy again. One of the most powerful and impactful ways to heal your inner teenager is to reconnect with the things that they used to love. Okay, so let's think about what inner teenage you was passionate about. Maybe it was art, music, writing, dancing, poetry, or a dream you gave up on. Okay, oftentimes the dreams that we're given in childhood and teenagers is something that we're meant to do, something that's part of our destiny. But maybe you gave up on it because someone made you feel like it wasn't realistic, when in today's world it actually is. So what would it look like to bring these things back into your life now? Right? For example, you can blast your favorite songs from the past, dance like no one's watching, wear something that your inner teenager really enjoyed to wear, like especially if you fit into those clothes, okay? Or like similar styles now, something bold, expressive, just because it feels good to you, regardless of what other people think, okay? Because the point is to give your inner teenager that permission that you never received to exist unapologetically in all their messy, vibrant glory. Because healing your inner teenager isn't just about the past, it's also about shaping and building your future. So when you take the time to show up for that part of yourself and you break free from patterns that have been holding you back, you stop seeking validation from people who genuinely don't deserve your energy, your time, or your validation. Because you need to start trusting yourself to the point that you don't need other people to make decisions for you, and you are now able to make your own decisions from a place of confidence, self-love, and compassion. Your inner teenager wants to see you thrive. They want to know it's safe to be seen. It's safe to be heard and celebrated. And the truth is that they've been rooting for you this entire time. Okay, you've had everything you needed within you all along. Thank you so much for watching this video with me. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, okay? Leave me a comment. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I love you. Just keep shining. You've got this, baby.